So you guys race vehicles for a living.
Yep.
We will dive all the way into that. Is driving boring? Like normal driving? Does that get boring for you?
Yes.
I think, like, honestly, racing's ruined everything else for us.
How so?
So, well, like, I mean, there's nothing that's like faster than going 330 miles per hour in 3 seconds, you know? So, like, unless I become like a fighter pilot, which I don't think I'm smart enough to do that. Yeah, I'm just gonna just cruise along and just like enjoy the scenery while driving everywhere else.
I feel like if you ever play like Grand Theft Auto, like, and if you play it too much, then you get in a car and you're like, I really just want to slam into somebody. I really just want to like bump them off the road. They're driving me crazy. I can't imagine being like somebody goes that fast and then someone's like driving 62 in the fast lane and you're like, I can't handle this.
And don't do that. We don't advocate doing that.
Yeah. Safe driving. NHRA is all about take it to the racetrack.
There we go. Take it to the track.
So you guys have grown up around racing.
Mm-hmm.
This is part of your life. Your dad was in it. What is it like growing up in this sport? Because James's kids have grown up playing soccer. I grew up playing baseball. That is something that you play in school, and it's like part of that. What is that life like for you growing up in something that's not necessarily part of your academics?
Yeah, I mean, I think it's interesting because, it's like we did sports as kids. You know, we did volleyball. We did that for years.
We sucked.
Yeah, we weren't good. I mean, at all. I mean, have you seen how tall we are? Like, there's a reason we ended, going drag racing. But it's one of those things that you can't really explain it to people. So it's like, people growing up, they knew that we did this thing called drag racing, but nobody really understood what it was. And like, I feel like as kids, we couldn't really explain it. Like, yeah, like our dad races this car and we race these mini cars, and people are like, okay, like, yeah, like Fast and Furious. And we're like, yeah, sure. I'm just going to go with it. But no, I think it was pretty crazy. I mean, it's good.
Yeah. I mean, yeah, I would like try to explain it to my friends. I'm like, yeah, I'm going racing for the weekend. And I'd be like 14. They're like, no, you're not. Like, you can't drive a car on the street. I'm like, I know I can't. That's why it's super cool. But I think like as a kid, it was like kind of isolating because like none of my friends like understood what it was. But like now that we've like really like kind of, this has become our careers, and drag racing is what we do every single weekend. And so we have like our community now of like other kids and people that have done it where they're like, yeah, we were the weirdos, that would like miss all the school events, had no friends because we were always out at the racetracks too. I'm like, okay, cool. It wasn't like just us.
Yeah.
So it's nice now that you like, there's other people that, have done it.
That's awesome.
And you guys both started racing young, right? You were 14 and you were like 10.
Correct. Yeah. Yes.
What are you racing at that point though?
So the class that they have is called junior drag racing.
Yeah.
So now they moved it to what
you can start racing at 5.
Yeah, it's pretty crazy.
Yeah. There's 5-year-olds going down the racetrack right now.
Yeah, it's crazy. But I mean, it's such an amazing class because that's really the stepping stone for a lot of racers. And there's a handful of professional racers now that had started their racing careers from there and then had worked their way up. But it's like a really fun way for kids to just kind of get their feet wet and drag racing is a very family heavy sport. You see a lot of families out there. And I feel like it's, that's always something that we were so blessed to be able to do with our families. But, like Jasmine said, every weekend, we were gone racing with our families, things like that. But it was pretty fun. Yeah.
Jasmine and Jianna Salinas joining us now, NHRA drag racers. I'd be terrified to get in or on a vehicle that moves as fast. So Jasmine, you've gone 330 miles an hour.
Yeah, 332.
That's crazy.
Yep.
And Jianna, I read on the internet 204.
I went 203.95 last weekend in Seattle. Like
those little
track
numbers.
record.
Is that's awesome. Well, congratulations. Hang on, we got a button for that. Nice job. Good work. We got a button there.
So cool.
Is there some kind of like that terrifies me? Like the idea of doing that. I get in my car, I start doing 80 and it starts to wobble a little. Is there a fear you have to overcome, particularly when you start?
I think so. I mean, I think as racers, we try to always keep that fear with us. It's kind of a respect thing, respect to the cars. And, when you're driving these cars that are going so fast and you're probably every room you're ever walking into, you're probably, the fastest person in that room every single time, that's a huge ego thing that can definitely build up. And so I think keeping that fear with you is like definitely respecting. So like you don't ever think that, you know, that you're better than the car, because these cars, you know, are wildly dangerous and wildly fast. So yeah, it's, I don't know. I mean, I think also too, like being, you know, like I'm 5'2", Gianna's like 5'3", maybe. I think we just measured, she's like an inch taller than me. So like we're pretty very small, you know, people. And for racing that works. But you know, when we go out, you know, just on the average street, like most people would never assume that we are race car drivers, professionally doing this every single weekend, going these fast. And I think that's so empowering, you know, especially like for a lot of other young women and young girls at the track to see like, hey, like I'm taller than them, you know, or they're my height and they're doing these things that are super scary and they're scared of it, but they're still doing it anyways. And I think that's such an empowering thing for, you know, even grown men will come to me and they're like, I see you doing this and it's so scary and it makes me feel like I can do it. I'm like, that's awesome. Like you're like twice my age and it's still like inspiring them as well. And I think that's pretty cool.
That's how I feel right
now.
You talk about the cars and how dangerous, like what's the horsepower on the drag racers that you drive?
So I drive Top Fuel Dragster and they're around 11,000 horsepower.
11,000 horsepower. And the motorcycles that you're on?
We make close to 400 horsepower.
Okay. And the motorcycles you're on, they have like the bar behind you that in case you like.
Correct. We like the bars. We like our wheelie bars. They pretty much keep us from doing a massive backflip on those bikes because they just have so much power.
It seems like that would be like, okay, so I don't know if this is bad form to ask, but like accidents, like it's not like when you don't want to like curse somebody and say you say you break a leg, but like what is the worst like accident you guys have been in, or have you guys avoided it?
So we both experienced accidents. I have 2 in my racing career. One was my first rookie season. You know, I made a bad mistake as a rider. I had very limited experience. I had kind of an unconventional start to racing motorcycles. Most racers have a lot more experience and then in bracket racing, and then they work their way into professional or pro stock motorcycle. That wasn't really an opportunity that I had. So I just kind of got thrown into pro stock motorcycle. So I had to learn really fast. So I definitely did not have a lot of experience. So I made some really bad rookie mistakes my rookie year. And then my second crash was during an off-season test session out in Florida. My front fork tubes collapsed going through the finish line. Luckily, we were only making half-track runs, so I was only going like 150 miles per hour. I got very lucky. You know, I just had some bad road rash. I had pretty bad bruising all over my body, but I broke my right foot. But other than that, I mean, when you think about, you know, like looking back on it now, I'm like, in my head, I'm like, yeah, I was just going 150 miles per hour, you know? But I've spoken to riders that are like on the street and they're like, I was like parking my bike and I fell and I broke like my whole leg. And I'm just like, okay. Like, you know, it's like hard to rationalize really. You know, as dangerous as our sport is, it really is safe in regard, you know, we call it controlled chaos. I think almost all the racers you'll meet out there are control freaks, and which is funny because a lot of us, you know, we're doing this crazy thing that's so chaotic. But you know, I'll let Jasmine speak about her crash, and you know, hers was definitely on a bigger level because, you know, different because I'm not strapped in, but you know, she is. So I think our danger levels are a little different. But
yeah, I crashed a couple of years ago, I think like 3 years now, and I like my race car went up in the air because we'll do this thing called pedaling. So like you'll get off the throttle and then try to get back in it. And I got in it a little too late. And so my car just like went straight up in the air and flew over the wall. And I went over the guardrail, like missed like the little signs where they like show like your run times. And then I like flipped 8 times. And somehow, you know, like that's what I'm saying is like all of our safety gear, the cars are designed like, so when you crash, like it's meant to break apart in certain spaces and keep the driver safe. But I was able to literally climb out of the cockpit on my own. I was walking around angry. I was like, son of a, and you know, I went to the hospital, get checked out, just had some internal bruising, but I was back at the racetrack, you know, a couple hours later. And that's just a testament to, you know, how much engineering goes into our sport and, you know, making sure that these cars are safe and that the drivers are safe.
One of the things, so I got really into a while back the show Drive to Survive, the Formula One show on Netflix. One of the things that I was blown away by was all the work that goes into being a race car driver. What kind of things do you do off the track? Because I know it's not just like, hey, we're going to just hop in a car this weekend or hop on a motorcycle this weekend. We're just going to go. What kind of off the track work are you doing to prepare for this?
For me personally, just because of the motorcycle that I race, it has so much horsepower, and I run a V twin now, so it has a lot of vibration, a lot of torque. It's very, very difficult to control, and these bikes, we're going speeds, 203 miles per hour, and they don't always go straight. So, and we're experiencing crosswind, headwind, tailwind, things like that. Tire spinning. So to be able to control that and catch that, you have to be pretty strong. So for me, I have to, be working out 5 to 7 times a week, eating really healthy. And that was actually a big thing when we started traveling. I had to experience humidity for the first time.
Ew.
Like, it was like, it took me like a full season. I was like, oh my God. I was like, what is this? I was like, we don't have this in California. And so then I started doing like hot yoga, and someone had suggested it, and they're like, it helps with your breathing. It helps, having to experience all this humidity. And in my head, I was like, I won't need that. But then like I started doing it, and then I started going to all these races where, we had a race in Virginia a couple weekends ago. It was like 103 in our pit. Humidity was like 90% or something. And, she's having to suit up in her suit. I'm having to suit up in my suit. I'm in full leather. We're sitting in the staging lanes in the sun. And that's a whole nother thing that people don't see, the behind the scenes of like the physical and like the mental part of racing is like how, difficult it can be. So, we both have to live, relatively pretty healthy lifestyle. And really, for me, just to be able to control the bike, I have to be working out all the time.
Jeez.
I want to say that I'm supposed to be working out, but my boyfriend's standing in the corner and he's going to call me out. I am supposed to be working out, and I keep saying it. So when I get back, now that I'm saying this on this, I will 100% be working out. But yeah, same thing. I promise, like it's the same thing. I'm trying to work out. Just your core is really huge. Like for runs like us in our cars, we're experiencing up to 5-6 G's on a run, and then when we pull our parachutes, we experience a negative 8 G's deceleration instantly. And so after a run, I'll get out of the car and I'm like hyperventilating and trying to catch my breath, and like people are like, did you just run like a marathon? I'm like, that's what I feel like. I don't even run, but that's what I like envision like running a marathon's like, and I'm so exhausted. I think we'll do qualifying Fridays and Saturdays, and then on race day we just have 4 rounds of eliminations. And so by the end of the weekend, at most we've ran, if we've gone all down the track, all 4 like times on race day, and then all 4 qualifying runs, we've run maybe 12 seconds. But the amount of like G forces that we're experiencing, and then the heat and the adrenaline rush, it's so much on your body. And I think that's been a huge thing, is just like focusing obviously on getting fit, but then like your mental like fitness too is like a huge thing.
How long does it take the adrenaline to go away? You feel like the next day?
I think mine, like I'm getting used to like just going like high, low all the time.
Yeah, definitely
like
for the same.
Really weird.
Yeah. So all I know is that like when I come home from a race weekend, I'm exhausted. Like I don't want to talk to anybody. I don't want to look at anybody. I just want to go to work and just like I need silence, because I was just like, you're going nonstop all weekend long. Like Jasmine said, your adrenaline's pumping all the time, and it's like you're going that high, low, and you just like you go home and you just need like some sense of normality for a few days before we head out again.
Does it still freak you guys out watching each other race or watching your dad race?
When Jasmine first started this year, it wasn't more of like freaking out. It was more of like excitement, honestly. Like I would get emotional because I was like, I've had the privilege. This is my 5th year racing professionally. So I've, been out here doing this for a couple years, being able to follow my dream. And this was Jasmine's first season out here doing this professionally. And it's like, I remember the first race in Pomona when she stepped in there, it was already an emotional weekend for us. And like, she went down the track for the first time. And I remember I'm holding my other sister and we're like, don't cry, suck it up. And we're just like, she's doing what she wants to do. And like, we were just so excited because it's like, we finally got to see her, something that she had been working towards for so many years, like finally get to experience. So like, I don't get scared when she runs. If anything, like I'm in the back, like, come on, get him. Like I'm super excited, like on the line, just out there supporting her. So
yeah, we both watched each other crash. So we're like, okay, we got that out of the way. Yeah. Now it's like, we know what each other's capable of, and we've been watching each other grow in this sport. So yeah, we're definitely like, when she messes up, I'm like, Jianna, you should have done better. I know like she's on the starting line too, like yelling at me like, Jasmine, like you had this. So it's pretty awesome.
If someone was going out to Sonoma this weekend for the first time, what can they expect?
Well, so like I said earlier, Friday and Saturday is qualifying. Friday, we do have a night run. So night runs are really special if you can make it out. when the top fuel cars go, and even with the funny cars are going, we get these massive, massive header flames. And so when you got 2 cars going down, just the whole track lights up with these like 8-foot like tall header flames that are so big, and you can feel like the heat going down the track. Like even on like regular day, like Friday, Saturday, Sunday, any other time, you're sitting in the grandstands and like the grandstands are shaking. The first time I went to Sonoma Raceway, like for an NHRA event, I was a little kid and I didn't know what to expect. And we're walking from the parking lot. And then suddenly I hear this loud noise take off and like the ground shaking and all the car alarms start going off. I'm like, what is this? Like I thought like there's an explosion. And my dad's like, those are the race cars. And I was so afraid to go over and sit in the grandstands. And then once you're in there and you feel like inside, you're sitting like the top of the grandstands. So we had like nosebleed seats.
Sure.
And you could still feel like your insides like vibrating as the cars go by. So, I mean, just the car experience alone. And then another thing that's really cool about NHRA drag racing is every single ticket is a pit pass. So basically, like most other motorsports, you have to kind of, you know, buy extra extra tickets, you know, to get greater access. But with all of these, it doesn't matter, you know, like what your ticket is. Like kids and adults, everybody can walk up to all of the pits, meet all the drivers, and watch all of the race teams, you know, take apart the race cars and rebuild them for the next rounds. That's cool. And so it's the access that you have is so much more greater than most other motorsports have.
That's really cool.
Yeah, there'll also be a specialty race this weekend, the Getrich Shootout, which will just be for the pro stock motorcycle class. But, you know, you'll get a little bit more bang for your buck with your tickets because it's like a race within a race. So you'll get to see the bikes run at least a couple more rounds. So it'll be pretty fun.
That sounds incredible.
Yeah.
Might have to make it out. I don't got anything going on this week.
Please do.
All right. Very good. You got anything else?
No, I'm good.
Very good. This was, we could do this for half an hour more, but we got, I know you guys got stuff to do. We got stuff to do. So we appreciate you guys so much for stopping by. Best of luck this weekend.
Thank you.
And we will, next time you're in town, stop on by.
Yeah, we definitely will.
Appreciate you.